The scent of brewing coffee usually brought a smile to Clara's face, a comforting ritual in her small, sun-drenched kitchen. But this morning, it was just another reminder of the hollow ache in her chest. Her fingers, usually nimble over the ancient piano keys at the local music school, trembled as she poured a mug. Across the chipped formica table lay a single, crisp white envelope, its seal unbroken, its contents a silent, mocking accusation. Clara was a creature of habit, of simple joys and unwavering loyalty. For 15 years, she'd poured her soul into teaching music, her life a steady rhythm of scales, recitals, and quiet evenings with her dog, Buster. Her greatest pride, however, wasn't her perfectly tuned ear or her students' growing confidence. It was the unshakable bond she shared with her younger sister, Lila. Lila, with her audacious dreams and sparkling ambition, had always been the vibrant counterpoint to Clara's quiet harmony. When their parents passed within a year of each other, leaving them orphaned and adrift, it was Clara who'd shelved her own nascent dreams of composing to provide stability. She'd worked 2 jobs, paid for Lila's elite university education, and cheered loudest from the sidelines as Lila climbed the corporate ladder in a bustling city 3 states away. Their weekly video calls were Clara's lifeline, a vibrant splash of color in her otherwise measured existence. The inciting incident had arrived like a silent, predatory cat, springing from the shadows. 2 weeks ago, a letter from the bank. Not her bank, but a private institution, referencing a shared financial obligation that made Clara's blood run cold. She dismissed it as a mistake, a clerical error, until a second, more insistent letter arrived, detailing a loan, a colossal sum, enough to wipe out her life savings and more, taken out in both their names. Her signature was there, eerily precise, a chilling forgery. But the true gut punch wasn't the financial ruin. It was the realization that Lila, her vibrant, ambitious, beloved sister, was the only one who could have done it. Her phone buzzed, vibrating across the table. It was Lila, her caller ID a beacon of false normalcy. Clara stared at it, a knot of nausea tightening in her stomach. How could Lila, her anchor, her other half, have committed such a devastating betrayal? The memory of their parents' last words, a fervent plea to always look out for each other, echoed in her mind, turning to dust. The quiet kitchen, usually her sanctuary, felt like a cage. Every surface, every shadow, seemed to whisper Lila's name, each syllable laced with deceit. "Hey, sis." Lila's voice, bright and unburdened, cut through the phone's speaker. "Just checking in. How's life in the quiet lane? Still teaching those little prodigies?" Clara's grip on the mug tightened, her knuckles white. She swallowed, trying to find her voice, a voice that wouldn't crack, wouldn't betray the earthquake raging inside her. "Lila," she began, her voice a thin, reedy whisper she barely recognized as her own. "We need to talk. About something important." A beat of silence stretched an eternity. Then, Lila's breezy tone faltered, a subtle shift that only Clara, who knew every nuance of her sister's voice, would catch. "Oh, what's up, sis? Everything all right?" The question was innocent enough, but Clara heard the faint tremor beneath it, a sliver of defensiveness that confirmed her darkest suspicions. The stakes were no longer just financial. They were the very foundation of her identity, her belief in the person she loved most. The quiet life she cherished was crumbling, and she knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that the confession looming between them would either rebuild it or shatter it forever. The video call felt less like a conversation and more like an interrogation under the harsh glare of an invisible spotlight. Lila's face, usually so animated and open on the screen, was a carefully constructed mask. Her eyes flickered away from Clara's gaze, betraying the unease she tried to hide behind a forced smile. "What's so urgent, Clara? You're scaring me," Lila said, her voice a little too high-pitched. She fiddled with a pen, clicking it repeatedly, a nervous habit Clara instantly recognized from their childhood whenever Lila was trying to get away with something. Clara took a deep breath, the metallic taste of fear coating her tongue. "Lila, I got a letter from the bank. About a loan." She watched her sister's face, searching for a crack in the facade, a flicker of understanding or remorse. For a moment, there was nothing, just a blank stare. Then, a subtle stiffening, a quick glance to the side, as if looking for an escape route from the digital frame. "A loan? What are you talking about?" "I don't know anything about a loan," Lila scoffed, attempting a casual laugh that sounded strained. Are you sure it's even for you? Maybe it's some scam. You know how those things are these days. The outright denial hit Clara like a physical blow. The betrayal was one thing, but the immediate, unhesitating lie was another. Lila, it's in both our names. My signature is on it. And it's for a lot of money. Enough to put me in serious financial trouble. Enough to make me lose everything. Clara's voice rose, a raw edge of desperation creeping in. The quiet, gentle teacher was replaced by a woman fighting for her very survival. Lila's composure began to fray. The pen clicking intensified. Clara, stop being dramatic. I swear, I have no idea. Why would I do something like that? But her eyes, though wide and seemingly innocent, couldn't quite meet Clara's. It was the same look she'd had as a child, caught with her hand in the cookie jar, feigning ignorance. Because you needed money, didn't you? Clara pressed, her voice gaining strength as the anger began to eclipse the hurt. For your business. For that startup you were always talking about. You didn't get the investment you needed, did you? The truth, stark and undeniable, hung in the virtual space between them. Lila's face finally crumbled. The carefully constructed mask shattered, revealing a kaleidoscope of emotions, shame, fear, and a flash of desperation. Her shoulders slumped, and the pen clattered to the desk. Tears welled in her eyes, not the raw, consuming grief Clara felt, but tears of self-pity and defeat. I didn't know what else to do, Clara, Lila sobbed, her voice thick with emotion. The investor pulled out at the last minute. Everything was riding on it. My entire career, years of work. I just needed a bridge loan, just until the next round of funding came through. I was going to pay it back. I swear I was. The confession, when it finally came, was less a relief and more a confirmation of the gaping wound in Clara's heart. The depth of Lila's self-interest, her willingness to sacrifice Clara's security for her own ambition, was a bitter pill. This wasn't just about money. It was about the fundamental erosion of trust. The internal conflict raged within Clara. The sister who had nurtured and supported Lila for years was battling the woman who now felt used and betrayed. The foundation of their relationship, once so solid, now felt like shifting sand. The silence that followed Lila's confession was heavier than any words. Clara stared at her sister's tear-streaked face, not seeing the desperate businesswoman, but the little girl who'd once begged her to play lullabies on the old, upright piano. The hurt was a raw, burning ember in her chest, but beneath it, a tiny flicker of something else stirred, a weary, complicated love that refused to be extinguished. Lila, Clara began, her voice hoarse. Do you have any idea what this means? What you've done? She wasn't asking for an explanation, but for an acknowledgement of the profound damage. I've spent my entire life trying to protect you, trying to give you the opportunities one never had. Our parents, they told us to always look out for each other. That bond was everything to me. Lila flinched, the mention of their parents striking a chord. I know, Clara, I know. And I messed up. I truly did. I was so caught up in making this business work, proving I could be something, that I stopped seeing anything else. Anyone else. Her gaze finally met Clara's, and for the first time, Clara saw genuine remorse, not just self-pity. I wasn't thinking about you, or us. I was just thinking about the cliff edge I was standing on. It was a turning point. The raw honesty, stripped of all pretense, was a sliver of the sister Clara remembered. Lila wasn't just crying over her failed ambition. She was grieving the damage she'd inflicted. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, picturing the countless sacrifices, the late nights teaching lessons, the worn-out piano, all for Lila. The anger was still a roaring fire, but the relentless pressure of a lawsuit, a financial ruin, also weighed heavily. She had to think practically, but also, deeply, about what she truly wanted. Did she want to burn this bridge entirely, or try to mend what seemed irrevocably broken? What's done is done, Clara said, opening her eyes, her voice steady now, though tinged with sadness. But we have to fix it. You have to fix it. Lila nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I will. I promise. I've been trying to find a solution, working every angle. My company, it's not completely dead. There's a smaller venture capital firm. They're interested in a scaled-down version of the project. If I can secure that, I can pay back a significant portion of the loan. Her voice was still shaky, but there was a flicker of determination. It will take time, Clara. A lot of time. And it won't be everything at once. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes. The conversation stretched for hours, filled with painful truths and tentative plans. It wasn't an easy fix, not by a long shot. There would be years of financial strain, of rebuilt trust, of navigating the complex emotional terrain between them. But as the call ended, Clara felt a fragile sense of resolution. It wasn't the happy ending where all problems magically vanished. It was bittersweet. Their bond, while deeply scarred, hadn't shattered entirely. It was frayed, stretched thin by betrayal, but not severed. In the days and weeks that followed, Lila did work relentlessly. She sent Clara detailed updates, proof of her efforts, taking on extra jobs, selling off personal assets. The money trickled in, slowly, painfully, but it was there. And with each transfer, each honest update, a tiny piece of the shattered trust began to knit itself back together. Their video calls were no longer weekly rituals of forced cheer, but raw, honest conversations about fear, regret, and the daunting path ahead. Clara knew it would never be the same. The innocence was gone, replaced by a painful wisdom. But as she sat at her piano one evening, the melody of a new composition forming in her mind, a melody with somber undertones but a hopeful, rising refrain, she realized something profound. Betrayal had fractured their bond, but the emotional confession and the difficult, ongoing work of repair had revealed an unbreakable thread beneath the damage. It was a thread woven from shared history, mutual sorrow, and the enduring, complex love of sisters. And perhaps that, in itself, was a new, stronger kind of harmony. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.